content that shows people that you're alive.
Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Business Talk with Kay. But today I have a wonderful guest. We finally are able to do this interview today. I'm so excited to interview this wonderful guest. So without wasting any time, her name is Kelsey Nicole Nelson. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It is my honor and privilege to be on. And I'm excited to chop it up with you. Thanks for all your patience with my crazy schedule, but I'm glad everything in the world has aligned now for us to be here.
Absolutely. So, on this channel, I love to talk to entrepreneurs and business owners. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, and you're a journalist. So, before we get there, why don't you introduce yourself to my audience first?
Sure thing. Well, hello, everyone. I am Kelsey Nicole Nelson. I am based out of our wonderful nation's capital of Washington, D.C., and born and bred here in the DMV area. And as Kay said, I am a sports entertainment journalist. I do everything from TV and radio. Also write. I'm also a college professor. This semester, I'll be starting at George Washington University. To news writing, capstone advisor at Georgetown University, helping graduate students in their sports industry management program. Also a multi-business owner, so I have multiple businesses in the media and communication space. Help people to basically with their branding, everything from PR, messaging, narration, and I also serve as the director of communications for the National Foster Youth Institute, and I will soon be launching my own Canon Foundation, which I'm so excited about. So just a little bit about me and my crazy life.
Wow, that's a lot of you into a lot of stuff. That's why it was so like when I sent you the message on Instagram, I was like, I was just taking a gamble to see will she respond or not.
Of course, I love people. I love shows. This
but
is
when I look at your feed, like your Instagram feed, you are always busy. Like I seen you with Lamar Jackson. I'm like. So she will not respond to me,
Oh,
Then when you said no,
if you get in my DMs, as long as it's appropriate, I will.
It was appropriate.
I'm slow though. I will say Instagram DMs are probably like if you ever want to get to me, probably try any of my other social media because my Instagram DMs is always so many, and then I start to respond, and my mind works faster than I actually can go. So my mind, I've responded to more people than I have, and I'm like, oh snap, I need to go back.
Yeah.
So I'm glad.
I like what you are doing. Because I like to see women of color in sports, right? Because my brother is also an executive with an NBA team.
Oh, awesome!
And so he went to Morgan and
local. Exactly. I love it. Maryland kids.
Exactly. And he worked his way up to USA Basketball. Then from there to various NBA teams. So it's good to see women of color in sports.
Yeah, and we want more. We want more. So
exactly, we want more, and people have to understand that the more women of color we have, it is good for everyone.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. When one of the quotes from my great mentors, the great James Brown, is diversity wins and inclusion matters. And you can never go wrong when it comes to making your company more diverse, which is really reflective of America, which is really how all businesses, and companies should be. And especially when you are empowering people of color, minorities, you're empowering folks that weren't given an equal playing field when this country first started. So I think it's very important to ensure that they have a voice in what's happening learning, that they have opportunities to leadership, in organizations and to executive level suites, and that we listen to them. And also when it comes to Black women, that we believe Black women, we support Black women, and that we love on our Black women.
Absolutely. So how did you you get started in sports and journalism actually?
Yeah.
What got you into this business?
So for me, I always point back to my dad. And that's why it's so great to hear about your brother coming from a HBCU like Morgan State, because that's the family I come from. I come from a family of HBCU grads. And if you've ever lived in an HBCU household, you know it's real when it comes to sports. You know how the paraphernalia, is everywhere. So all that to say, my dad went to Grambling State University. I was a daddy's girl. I always loved sports. I always loved competition. Growing up with Black and gold in the household, Eddie Robinson, Doug Williams posters everywhere. It's hard not to fall in love with sports. And again, I told you I'm from the DMV area. Sports is huge here. We're trying to become a capital of sports. Which is exciting times. So growing up, I get free tickets. My family and me would get free tickets to games. We'd go see Georgetown. This is when Georgetown was at its top, folks. Like Hoya Paranoia was real. The University of Maryland basketball. Y'all remember the national championship?
Correct.
So just growing up, and then when the Washington Wizards, I'm talking about Caron Butler, Antoine Jameson era. Washington Mystics with Elena Beard and Coco Miller. I mean, I could go on and on and on. So growing up in that culture, but then spending my summers down in Jackson, Mississippi, and if you know the Deep South, folks, outside of the Montgomery Brawl, if you know the South before the Montgomery Brawl, it was sports and church. It's like football and church is like the two big things, and so that's kind of what I grew up in. That's what I knew. It didn't hurt either that I hit my growth spurt super early on, and that I was super tall. Okay, so everyone was always pulling me into sports, and my parents. I've always been active, so I played a bunch of sports growing up. But I just love the thrill of the game. I love the people cheering you on. I love the camaraderie, right, with my teammates. So I think sports for me has always been a natural fit. Boys and Girls Club. From being the Foursquare queen to dodgeball queen. I just loved everything about it. And so for me, sports, I just knew would always be kind of part of my life, and I just never wanted to let it go.
Wow. And I live in the Baltimore area, so
we love DMV, Baltimore. We're cousins, we're friends. I'm a Maryland girl, so I have special love for Baltimore.
And the Ravens are my team, and I love football. So was football something that you enjoyed watching a lot?
Yeah, football was my first love when it came to sports. That's why I'm taking beef with some of the stuff that's happening in Washington right now, and some soft guys, taking offense to Eric Bieniemy's coaching style.
But, I saw that.
Ooh, that's got a girl busy. But I love the hard hits. Like if you watch my show, I'm almost maybe biased a little bit because I probably have the most football athletes, come on my show, especially former football athletes, because I love the stories, and for me, there's nothing like going to a football game. I mean, I'm talking about American style football. You go in there, the trash talking early that happens, the beer drinking, the beer pong that happens outside the stadium during tailgating. Then you go in and just watching the game unfold, the offensive side of the football, the defensive side of the football, the special team side. I just always love the symmetry and the story that the game told. And then I think also when you think about football, folks have to remember what football has done. I'm also a history buff. I'm a big buff for African-American history. It's something I also teach, beginning back in college, something I got a degree in. And you look at a sport like football and how that really was able to unite folks. I was just at the National Association of Black Journalists Conference in Birmingham, Alabama. And one of the people we honored last year at our Sam Lacy Pioneer Awards, was the late, great Sam Bam Cunningham. And if you remember that 1970 game when Alabama took on USC, it was after USC put a beating on Alabama, that Bear Bryant and that football program, and all of a sudden had to be like, you know what? We need Black players. Great, right? So I look at a sport like football. You think about someone like Eddie Robinson at Grambling, and what he did coaching that many years at an HBCU, and what that did, or Doug Williams, right, becoming the first Black quarterback to start and win a Super Bowl. I think football has had so many great stories that have paralleled and pushed us forward as a society, and I think it's always so important. So for me, I just love the fun aspect of football, the competitive aspect of football, and also how football has helped to transform history.
Wow. And we're going to get back to HBCU topic in a few, but I'm going to ask this question. During your rise in journalism and in your career, did you have any difficulties, any issues, racism, discrimination? Did you face any of that as a woman of color?
Oh my gosh, yes. And I'm telling you every story, every woman in sports or every sister in sports. I'm talking about Black women when I say that.
Hmm.
Everybody has something that they've been through, and it's unfortunate, right? There's a lot of people who don't want you, honestly, quite frankly, in the position that you're in. I mean, unfortunately, just the sex is part of things. People, constantly telling you you're a woman, you could know nothing about football, you've never
Hmm.
played it, even though your girl was a flag football champion back in the NFL passing league. That's a story for another day.
Yeah.
But all that to say, and then even just being a Black woman in sports, you get unfortunately, you get the double whammy of racism and sexism in sports. And literally, it's held me from jobs and opportunities and positions.
Mm.
But it's also, honestly, to be quite frankly with you, it's also what fuels me. When I
Hmm.
see something happening, it pushes me to go harder, not just for myself, but to make sure others can get in the door as well that are coming behind me. So yeah, I think my story, kind of how I fell into freelancing is because I wasn't getting the opportunities I wanted. Because
Mm.
honestly, being a Black woman, I was underlooked. Undervalued as
Yeah.
well. So kind of what happened was, I had to get a small gig here and a small gig there and a small gig here. Wasn't
Hmm.
paying the bills, working full time, also trying to support my dream. And I went the unconventional way, quite frankly, with you in journalism. Probably still unconventional when it comes to just my career
Hmm.
and all the different things that I do. Because essentially, a seat at the table wasn't being offered. So essentially, I went my tool shed and I got my own tools to build my own table.
Yeah, I
Essentially
see.
my career, working in sports. But I think as a Black woman, you're always kind of looked at last for positions. And then, I think unfortunately when the murder of George Floyd happened, then all of a sudden some people decided to get a caution, a conscience and say, hey, maybe we do need diversity.
Hmm.
But it's very unfortunate that one, not everybody has kept their promises, and two, that it took something so horrific, so tragic, for some people to change their mind. And then also you have to look at the number of hires that they have. It seems like a lot of times they'll want one of you, it can't be
Hmm.
multiple of you. So I think, so far too often, we do as Black women continue to face challenges, though we've obviously had some great strides and great successes. But yeah, my story has definitely been one of adversity, overcoming obstacles, overcoming barriers, and just finding ways. My word in life is knowing how to pivot, Kay, and I've had to learn how to pivot, continue to know have to
Hmm.
know how to pivot because of things that are thrown my way that are outside of my control.
Wow. I like what you said. You were like, nobody brought the table, so you had to create your own table.
Look, I will go find some tools. Like I come from a Southern Black family. I only know how to work hard and hard work.
Yeah.
Two things you
So,
learn in a Black household, or especially a Black Southern household.
correct.
That's all I know how to do.
So you never worked at none of the big networks, like
So
ESPNs,
I freelance, I think, and so
freelance. Okay.
I think that's why I'm confusing the folks, because like people will see me on different networks, right? And they're like, "Wait, how is she doing this and how is she doing that?" And essentially, I love what I do now, and I've learned the freelance game, and I've learned how to make money in the freelance game. But starting off, I was freelancing for free, K, like absolutely free, not
Hmm.
getting paid, actually spending money to get to games. And if you're from the area, so spending, have money on my smart trip. I knew when the last train left every time, Capital One Arena, because I had to be on that train to get back home.
Yes.
This is pre-Uber, pre-Lyft, when I was starting out, taxi rides are super expensive, so couldn't do
Yes.
that. But yeah, I think that's essentially kind of like, just been my story. So yeah, I've worked with the big networks, and obviously had a contract with Bally Sports, probably most recently, which is one of the larger
Hmm.
networks that I've worked with, which truly was a privilege, but it's definitely been a journey. It's definitely been a journey to even getting those, freelance talent,
Yes.
contracts, and hopefully more will come.
Wow. And I kind of found you through the NFL chick, Rita.
Rita's my girl. Yeah, she's a
Yeah.
Baltimore girl.
Yeah, Rita
Yes.
is she's a big personality on 105.7.
Yeah.
I think she's very talented to be moved from the weekend to the weekday.
Rita's amazing. Oh yes,
Yeah,
I
I
will
don't
see
know why they
all
haven't
day.
moved her yet. She keeps doing what, Sundays or Saturdays, but they need to move
Yeah,
her to the weekday because
Rita's amazing. Baltimore
she
is like
knows her stuff.
she
Yeah.
knows her stuff, and then she's fun with it, right? I mean, it's one thing. Like I always say, like being a sports reporter or analyst, like, people can read stats. It's how you present it. What new can you bring to the table? And I think
Correct.
Rita does exactly that. And even my appearances on 105.7 in Baltimore is honestly because of Rita. Rita brought me to the table, and now I've had a chance to go on the show with her and
Oh,
Cordell.
really? Oh,
Go
I
on with
haven't heard you
go
on the.
on with Jerry. So I mean, I've had multiple people from that station, and it started all because of Rita. So I am forever grateful and thankful for her just
Awesome.
being a true sister in sports and always looking out for me.
Awesome. I like your motivation. because one of my favorite um, one of my subscribers and also a good family friend is Laquita and her husband. She's like,
Yeah.
oh goodness, she's putting in freelance because they do freelance work. They do theater stuff,
Yeah.
and we do talk on the phone about sometimes you have to do it for the free 99 before you
Before you
start.
get up there.
Yeah,
Yeah, before you build
exactly.
your brand and name. Like for me, when I was starting out, so now, I'm so blessed and privileged that people know, my K&N brand, they know Kelsey Nicole Nelson, but I had to build to that point, right? And I
Right.
think there's something, my biggest thing is, be humble, don't be humbled. And so
Yeah.
getting into the game, I was humbled, I was
Yeah.
thankful for an opportunity. I had I was starting to cover professional games. So I was still an undergraduate student at the University of Maryland, covering the Washington Wizards and things. So to me, I was
Mhm.
like, I can't ask for money yet. Like I'm thankful to be here. I'm getting, TV. I was doing working for free, but I was getting exposure because I started with community access television out in
Mhm.
Prince George's County, Maryland. And of course, again, wasn't getting paid, but the exposure that I got my name to be known, got me in
Yeah.
people's households. And then one person would call and say, "Who's that? I want to talk to her." And that led to something else. I got asked to start doing basketball tournaments. I got
Mm.
play by play for the Capital City Classic. Like so many different opportunities spewed from that. And what happened was the free work that I was doing started turning into paid hosting gigs here or a paid
Mhm.
television gig there. But you just said it. I think that's what happens with a lot of young people. Like I'll have young people reach out to me now, and again, I'm all for, I should say this first, I'm all for interns being paid. I think they definitely should. But
Absolutely.
I understand not all internships do pay. And I think, if you are able, like when I was interning in college, I was only able to do it because I had a campus job, right? That
Mhm.
sufficed for my bills. And I had another internship in the city, which is super hard. But I think a lot of times, again, you have to, that's why you always have to game plan and know where you
Mhm.
want to go. And when you know where you want to go, you'll understand the steps that you have to do to get there. And yeah, sometimes it is going to be you raising your hand because
Yeah.
sometimes people might not want to pay you, but it's a great opportunity and you don't want to lose out on that opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to realize early on. But again, I had to pay bills. I had to live. So I had to
Mhm.
find other ways to suffice my income and to suffice for my bills. But if you want something, you are going to live it. You're going to breathe it. You're going to have a passion for it. And you're going to have to find a way, to make it work. Because some of the best opportunities might be unpaid. You might get to shadow somebody like a Stephen
Absolutely.
A. Smith. He might not be paying you to shadow him, but you're shadowing Stephen A. Smith. You might be at ESPN
Absolutely.
headquarters. You're meeting the right people. And so you just have to make sure that you put yourself in the right room, in the right places, whether that
Mhm.
has a price tag attached or not.
Yeah, and you said your story is kind of similar to my brother's.
Yeah.
When he was attending Morgan, he finished college, he graduated, but he wanted to stay on. He was on as an assist, like an intern kind of way on the basketball team. And after he graduated, he wanted to come back, and they were like, "We don't have a budget for you. We don't have a
Yeah.
budget to hire somebody." He's like,
Right.
I'll be your team manager for free."
See?
So he did it for free. Then after that, he was doing USA basketball for free, volunteering. And now he's an executive with the Spurs.
Look at
Like
that.
it
And I'm
doesn't get any
not doing
better.
that for free.
No, not doing that for
Not
free.
for more money.
Yeah, he's traveling. I mean, I see people
Huge.
that get into sports, even if it's journalism or just
Yeah.
any type of sports. The passion that you guys have, I'm
Yeah.
telling you, you got to have passion to do this
Oh,
because
you
he
do.
has passion, and I mean, he's been all over the country, just
So awesome to
never
hear.
home, but he's doing
But
well now.
it's not bad, hardly home, but always repping. I know he's always repping
Yeah,
the fact of Baltimore. And honestly, coming from Baltimore, Baltimore is, it's a work hard spirit type of city, right? I mean, I think
absolutely,
that's what he represents. But as you said, sometimes you have to really all the time you have to put the work in. And I understand again, everybody wants to get paid, but you will reap the fruits of your labor. You just don't know when. And obviously for
absolutely.
your brother, I got all my first gigs unpaid. I was working at University of Maryland, working in the media relations department unpaid. I was a video intern for the Maryland women's basketball team unpaid. But the exposure that I got from that, the connections I was able to get from media, working as a
Yeah,
media relations intern at Maryland with the top journalists, and then covering Maryland women's basketball, which of course has always been good, under the
mhm,
Brenda Freeze era. It obviously set me up and put me in the position for people to see my greatness, and then for people to kind of put me in places, again, where I could get the check, get the bill, and truly be where the money resides, later on in my career.
yeah. Now, we were talking about HBCUs a few
Yeah.
minutes ago, and now I'm going to bring this up.
Okay.
A few years ago, Deion Sanders was making a lot of wave with this HBCU, going back to HBCU.
Yeah.
2 years later, he took a job, and everybody called him all types of names in the book, sell out,
Yeah.
blah 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 blah.
Unfortunately.
What was your opinion about that? The move made by Deion Sanders.
I'm so glad we're having this conversation because, as I mentioned, I just got back from Birmingham and I got to meet up with some good friends from Jackson, Mississippi. As I mentioned, I spent time living in Jackson, Mississippi, close to where Deion worked at Jackson State University.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll also preface this by saying I come from a family where all of my aunts on my mom's side went to Jackson State University. So essentially saying like the Jackson State pride was very apparent, in my family growing up. So I think a couple things about this. Number one, I remember when Deion first started, I remember his first year when he struggled in the SWAC, right? Because it takes time to get your foot in. Everybody was laughing, trying to be like, oh, see, it's not easy. It takes time. Then he bounces back, has a spectacular year, right? Things are changing for Jackson State. They're getting respect in the SWAC. And I think for people to understand, the SWAC for so long, especially in football, this is why people love the Bayou Classic because, for so long, you're talking about Grambling State, you're talking about Southern University, right? As it pertains to college football. And I think what people messed up on with Deion is I think some people got into the savior aspect where Deion save the school and be there forever. Well, folks, there's a reason why your favorite, superheroes are fictional. Deion did what he was supposed to do. Went to the school that, yes, gave him an opportunity, but with opportunity also should come growth. Again, we're not going to have, unfortunately, coaches like Eddie Robinson anymore that are going to stay at the school multiple decades because there's too much money in college coaching now, folks. There just is. And Deion deserves the bag for what he did. I think Deion came, he saw, he conquered. And the conversation I was having with people this weekend were like, they didn't like how he did it because, like during the celebration, during the ending, like during the celebration portion, you could tell, you could tell he wanted to go and wanted to be on. But I also know, an opportunity knocks, you better go after it, because opportunity does not always knock. And so to me, I thought the criticism that Deion got was very harsh. I think we're harsh on our own. If Deion had been another background, I don't think he would have gotten all that backlash. And honestly, I just want to see folks happy to see folks win. Again, Deion Sanders, what he was supposed to do, Kay, was to go in and prepare Jackson State for the next level. Do the best job he could so he could be able to hand the baton whenever he left. Deion Sanders was not going to stay at Jackson State University, and he was not going to stay living in Jackson, Mississippi. Deion's too big for that. And let's just be honest, right? I mean, again, we know his threshold and we know where he wanted to go. So all that to be said, I think if anything, I wanted people to be more so empowering of the next head coach, empowering of the athletic department that should have been working with Deion. And every athletic department, let me tell you this, I've worked in the athletic department. I worked at Georgetown University as an athletic department when I was in grad school as an intern, actually worked in their fundraising portion of the athletic department. You should always be prepared for the next person. Because most athletic departments, you're never going to keep the same coach forever. Again, it's a different college coaching world. So in preparation, again, I think they should have already been prepared to know what's next after Deion. There's life after Deion. And guess what? Jackson State football will continue after Deion. So if anything, I just thought he got a lot of just, like you said, harsh, nasty, a nasty departing, from Jackson State. And, Deion had, we have to remember what Deion did. He was at the school during a water crisis when the school and the players didn't have clean water, folks. They didn't have water to bathe, to shower, to drink. He helped ticket sales. Jackson State, I remember when, they were begging folks to come watch a Jackson State game. He had people standing in line for Jackson State season tickets. He had people traveling with his team. He brought a new excitement to Jackson State University.
He brought the buzz,
and then he helped the city of Jackson. If you've ever been to the city, he helped bring new money into the city of Jackson, which could use that money. So all in all to say, I think we need to celebrate Deion for his wins. Okay, is he perfect? No. Sure. Could the farewell have been better? Sure. But guess what? I bet y'all every breakup that y'all been through has not been perfect. And I'm sure you don't hate every single one of those people because guess what? Life and stuff happens, right?
Absolutely.
So all in all to say, I'm excited for Deion. Obviously, Colorado will be a new challenge for him. Luckily, he only has up to go after their last record, at the football program. I love, also that he's continued to bring his family to it. If anything, maybe I was more so not happy, with some of the things that the daughter said. And I know a lot of people took offense to what the daughter, had said, leaving Jackson, talking about the crime on campus and stuff like that. Like, if you're going to say stuff, it needs to be accurate and it needs to be true. But all in all, Deion does not deserve the hate that he got. Deion Sanders deserves better from us.
Absolutely. And with Deion going to this new school, he creates new opportunity for his assistant coaches and his staff.
Exactly. To step up. Exactly.
That's the goal. So when one person moves up, you also bring everybody with you.
That
and
part.
everybody can branch off to do their own thing.
That part. And Kay, I just have to say real quickly, my life mantra is lift as you climb. Yeah. Lifting as you climb is so important. And that's exactly what Deion Sanders did. Like you said, he was able to lift as he climbed and bringing others along with him. But did anyone want to talk about that? No, they just wanted to talk about how Deion left them and betrayed. I mean, people were hurt. And again, I get a pride that people have for a school, but just what they did to Deion, it wasn't right and it shouldn't have happened.
Yeah. And I know I saw one of your pictures with Lamar Jackson. Now we're gonna get into this conversation. The whole summer was Lamar Jackson getting an agent. I was like, yeah, he needs an agent
to money,
help him negotiate for his contract. Yeah. And I know you're around a lot of former NFL players, sports writers. You're in the business. What do you think of NFL players taking that role of becoming their own agents?
What Lamar Jackson did was to bet on himself. And let's be honest, it's not easy. We saw how long it took Lamar. And a lot of us were like, Lamar, I don't know. You might need to go talk to an agency. And it was tough. But this is why you bet on Black women. His mother, his mother got the job done. And believe me, it looked bleak at times. And, you could say, and is he going to stay the highest paid? No, right? Let's be honest, because
they just signed another quarterback.
Right. And then you got Joe Burrow and everybody else coming along. So it's, but at the time, I love it because I think so often, I'm somebody that personally doesn't have an agent and I make nowhere near the money that Lamar makes. But agents do take some of your money, right? Because they're essentially getting the deals done for you. One of my favorite quotes, is from Shaquille O'Neal. He talked about being in a room and everybody was talking about business, right? They were all talking about business about him, but he wasn't being involved in the conversation. So essentially, that's when he was like, I'm going to go back and get this degree because I wanted to be able to do my own business. And essentially, I feel like that's what Lamar Jackson's mom did. She saw, obviously, her son has been a star for a long time. Like Lamar was like, if you go back, this man was a peewee star. Like you knew he was going to be special. And then she's keeping the money in the family. Correct. Essentially, this is honestly what LeVar, if you go back, this is really what LeVar Ball was essentially trying to do, right? With the Big Baller brand.
Correct.
Betting on himself and basically minimizing the outside people. So I'm very happy that Lamar got it done. Again, we all got scared. I was at an event this summer where Lamar Jackson actually honored his mom, with flowers and really thanked her, for all that she did for him, which I thought was a very beautiful and special thing. I'll be honest, I was one of the people, I started the term like Lamar, maybe just get an agent because I wanted him to get the bag.
I wanted him to get an agent too.
I even doubted it. But I think, what Lamar has done, I think he's shown players, I think he's inspired players. Now, are you going to see a lot of players do this? No. Because again, you remember how long it took? And let's remember, Lamar is a special type of player.
Exactly.
Not every player will be able. But I also think he showed that players can be more involved in the negotiation process. They can speak for themselves and they don't need anybody else to do it. And I think he's kind of ushered in a new era, of football where top star guys, I think might, maybe have this conversation. I loved that at the time that this happened was at the same time Nicole Lynn had got the contract, right prior for Jalen Hurts. So we had a Black woman do something that hadn't been done as an agent. And then we had a Black man and a Black mother do something in Lamar Jackson. So all in all, and this is a sports agency, I think this is an era in sports where we're seeing more Black agents, especially, for athletes. But I think what Lamar did, I think it was commendable. If anything now, when his next contract comes out, will he do the same thing? Will he be, in the same position to do this? But just special props, Lamar and his team, keeping it in there. Never stop believing faith, even when the world, doubted them. He was out there working out, posting videos. And sure enough, the Baltimore Ravens finally had to curve and they met in the middle. Let's be honest, maybe not all that Lamar wanted, but they were able to meet in the middle and get the job done.
Yeah. And, I was even saying Lamar should get a Black agent, but that didn't work. And you talking about mothers, Michael Jordan, a billionaire, his mom negotiated the Jordan brand for him.
There's a special bond, and you probably know there's a special bond between Black sons and Black mothers. And as you know, you always listen to your mom, you might not go against mom, but I think, and it's true. I think we all think about our moms, like mother knows best. And I think about it too. You think about where Lamar has come from, and his mom, obviously, who knows him better than his mom? Okay,
yeah,
who knows Lamar Jackson his mom. I mean, she's been there through the roots. And also when you start to make money, you start to have people try to leech on and stuff like that. And she
That's
probably
right.
thought about that. Why do you want to have an agent who's really not part of the family, be
Correct.
in to get some of this money? So I think his mom was just protecting his best interests. And Lamar has since went on to open a restaurant. I mean, this man is
Correct.
really thriving. And it's so honestly great to
He
see.
has his own clothing brand as well.
Amazing
So,
entertainment company, his own entertainment
yeah.
company. He just continues to prosper and go. And I
Yeah.
think this is exactly kind of spewed from the new contract deal.
Yeah. So we have another good friend of mine, Doug. He would defend the HBCU till the day he dies. So he
I
said
get
I'm
it.
biased.
Comment.
He said I'm strong. I'm a stronger supporter of HBCUs. Of course, I know he is. Said I would have liked to seen him stay a bit longer.
I have to respond to this because I've actually heard this a lot too.
Yeah.
Jackson State had the opportunity to help him stay a bit longer. Guess what they could have did? What makes somebody stay longer? What will make you stay longer at a job?
Oh, you got to give me more money.
You got to pay them. You got to
me,
pay
yeah.
them. But I understand that Jackson State wasn't able to offer what Colorado offered, right?
Absolutely.
But could they offer something else? I mean, I don't know. Could we could we get our boosters to give more, right? So we can better. So all that to say, I mean, it's easy to say that, but I think you have to look at your own self. I mean, what was there to stay for? He kind of had done the top levels, right, of what he could do at Jackson State. Now, could he repeat? Sure. You go back to the Celebration Bowl. I mean, there's so many things that you could look at, but essentially Deion, I think, saw he had almost reached his ceiling. Every time I've left a job, it's because I saw no more growth.
Yeah.
I like in life for me is about growth. I cannot be in the same place. And I think again, Deion knew where he wanted to go. And if anything, yes, I mean, again, I'll go back, to a relationship. Maybe you wanted somebody to stay longer, but what were you doing to make them stay? What were you able to offer? So I think everybody at the end of the day, you have to look back in the mirror and just see, and this goes back to a longer conversation, why a lot of these top schools are able to keep people because their budgets are bigger. And yes, we know there's unfair funding for HBCs. I mean, there's so many things that we can get into, into the nitty gritty. But, again, as someone who's worked in athletics department at Georgetown University, where boosters are able to give large funds, which helps, to be able to keep coaches and things like that of that nature. Jackson State, again, wasn't able to do that, but he put Jackson State on a different level.
Yes, I didn't even know about the school.
A lot of people hadn't known about the school. I knew about it because I grew up, again, with that culture. But I think you have to look at the legacy that he left, helping the city of Jackson, helping Jackson State. And now it's kind of like we're about to watch the Olympics in Paris. It's all about passing the baton. I need everybody on this team to be able to move forward. Deion's passed the baton. Now who's going to be the next person up? And I think this doesn't mean he's just abandoning Jackson State. I'm sure Deion still loves Jackson State. So I mean, Deion got like white folks to know about HBCU culture during football.
Exactly.
They started trying to copy, right? The halftime performance and everything else. Like that's something in itself. He got HBCU talk on national primetime television. So I think Deion did the job that was meant to be done. But I do think that Deion did have to make a hard decision, and he had to do his best, not just for himself, but for his family's sake. Getting paid wasn't just for Deion. He's building a legacy of wealth for his family. We talk about generational wealth all the time in the Black community, and he's going to be able to do that. And also now I think he's going to give a chance now, because now if Colorado did it, who's to say that another top school won't say, let me look down at these HBCUs and maybe get. Now, again, I know Deion's a little different because he has, he's played on the national level. He's a big name. He's obviously different than most folks, but still, you have to see how many people. I had not seen that many people go down to Jackson. I had not seen that many people go down to Jackson, Mississippi and go try pig feet sandwiches while they were waiting for games to go watch Jackson State. I mean, he did something for that economy, and we can't take away from it. So I think all of us should just be wishing Deion the best because his success is all of our success.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement with you because I felt the same way. I'm like, with him going to Colorado, he put his son in a better position.
That too is helping his family. Exactly.
Yeah, better competition.
Go to the next level.
Exactly.
And let's be honest, how many HBCU players were drafted the last draft? Exactly. I mean, there's a conversation that needs to be had.
Exactly. And with that opportunity, if they win the next 3-4 years and do very well, some of those Black coaches on his team get better jobs.
And they get paid more, and they help their families more. Exactly. I think we have to look at the larger picture, but that doesn't mean it's less for Jackson. If anything, I think there's more excitement still going into the SWAC this year because it's like, can Jackson State, are they able to get back to their glory? I mean, it's competitiveness, right? Like within the SWAC that I think is very good. for college football. And again, who's to say that what Deion did isn't to say that another top star, former NFL player, won't try to come coach? Now, I know it didn't work with Ed Reed, at Cookman, but I still think there's going to be a path of former players that are trying to get into coaching that will see the HBCU ranks as a viable rank for their coaching career.
Yeah, I love this statement. It says sometimes the big fish got to move from the pond to the
that
ocean.
That part. And to be fair, though, some people are going to be content staying in a pond. Some people are, right? It's kind of like about migration, but most animals, when it gets cold, what do? They migrate.
They migrate, yeah. All right, well.
Migrating, folks. So
what is your, Go ahead.
Let's send more love to Deion. He could use
it.
He
exactly.
A tough schedule coming up.
Yeah. So, what do you think the record is going to be? Like, do you think? Have you looked at the schedule?
I've seen their schedule. I have them at least at 500. I have them finishing at least at a modest 500. I think Deion's doing a lot. The transfer portal has been good to him, obviously. Because a lot of the Colorado players had to that weren't cutting the bill. But it's also hard your first year. Again, I remember Deion's first year of the swag. It is not easy to make that transition. This is new for him. Deion obviously also has had to deal with some health issues, right? Going on with his foot and other stuff. So all that to say, I don't have them finishing bottom. I don't have them finishing top. I think a modest 500 level.
At least a bowl game.
Right. Probably make a bowl game. And Deion kind of setting the precedent for year 2, which I think I'm more excited about.
Correct. Yeah. So have you made your NFL picks this year? Who do you think? Who are you going with the Super Bowl?
Ooh, we're going Super Bowl already. I don't know, because people are freaking out about quarterbacks throwing interceptions in practice right now. I don't know. People are freaking out. Let's just be honest. Kansas City is going to always kind of be the standard right now. Patrick Mahomes just continues to be Patrick Mahomes, his greatness. It just like the Chiefs somehow, some way, always continue to get better. And even with losing Eric Bieniemy out here to our Washington team, I still think that offense is going to be able to sustain. Patrick Mahomes obviously demands greatness. Travis Kelsey seems to somehow get better every year, even though he's already, at the top, of his game. So, I think Kansas City is definitely going to be the team to beat. I think in my neck of the woods, or our neck of the woods, it's here in Baltimore, a lot of people are talking about Philly. Philly, I do think, has lost some pieces. I think NFC East wise, Philly is going to be the team to beat. I don't know if I have them going all the way. I think the 49ers are another team I just have questions about because, you think about last year and unfortunately injuries, kind of derailing them, but a good team, right? That would hopefully come back for more. I know everybody's riding the Jets train. Okay, I'm not ready to put them in the Super Bowl.
Neither, no.
All right, Aaron Rodgers, I think he's going to be good for them, but, again, I'm still watching the New York Jets, and I know they're rebuilding, but I'm not believing them. So for me, I think I have Kansas City. I think that other, NFC team is going to be interesting to see who comes out. Thus far, I think the Bills are another team a lot of people are talking about, but they've had some disgruntlement in the offseason going on with quarterback and top receiver. But yeah, I think the defending Super Bowl champions are going to be the team to beat. As we count down to Las Vegas in the big game.
Yeah. Wow. So do you get do you go to the Super Bowl anyway? Do you get a chance to go?
I do. So I do. That's obviously my favorite event. I told you I love football. And Super Bowl's not even just fun because of the game. It's so much fun because of the surrounding events. This past year, Kay, talking about Black women in sports, I had a chance to participate in Ciroc's Black women in sports. Basically, it's like a mixer panel they did. And it was me, Carrie Champion, Elaine Welterworth. Yeah, it was so much fun. And MJ Acosta. So super fun, just highlighting Black women in sports. I got to represent the National Association of Black Journalists on the panel. And it was just super fun. So like everybody else, Kay, is counting down to Las Vegas, just being a big thing this year and hopefully having another competitive game. Last year was very good. The Eagles had it. They fumbled the bag and ended up on the short side of the stick. But you have to think they're going to be hungry to try to get back.
Yeah. Wow. I wish I could have been into sports. I love watching it, but I wish I was in the industry. Maybe I did coach soccer, but that's about it. High school. I coached at college.
And I think that's the great thing about sports. It's never too late, if you want.
It's never too late. So I love sports. I love getting into it. I don't know. I was looking at the NFL Players Association on how to be an agent when this Lamar Jackson thing was going on. I said, let me see what it takes to be an agent anyway.
Yeah, that's a good field with money in it, and I think that's something, that's the good thing about sport. There's so many there's so many careers in sports. I mean,
Correct.
there just is. And I don't think, I mean, it's, you have sales, right? All your customer service stuff, guest
Yeah.
service relations and stuff like that. You talked about being a sports agent. Once upon a time, I wanted to be a sports agent. I was pre-law in college for a time.
Oh,
That
yeah.
obviously switched, but I still understand that side, which is very important for me as a broadcaster to be able, right, to explain it to folks.
Yeah.
So they can follow along. It's kind of like why I love the poster behind you, the hustle and all the things you have behind it.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
want to do anything, that's what it is. It's hustling and
Yeah.
making dreams come true. I hope we're both living testaments that it's never too late to go after what you want to achieve.
Yeah. Awesome. One more. I can talk to you for the next 3 hours, but because there's a lot of questions.
Started,
Sports
'cause
has a
both of
lot
us
of
can.
content. But you got things to do. I got things to do. I got another question to ask you. Now a lot of journalists are actually taking a lot of steps to starting their own podcast. You have your own channel.
I
That's
do.
you can see what happened with ESPN. ESPN is letting everybody go.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Exactly. So what do you think of the new wave of journalists just like yourself managing their own content? You don't have to work at ESPN anymore. Like, look at Shannon Sharp. He has 1 million subscribers.
Club Shay Shay is popping.
Exactly. So what do you think about this new era of sports journalists? You don't really have to be at an ESPN. You can really do your own show from your house.
Oh, yeah. I think it's wonderful. I think the great thing about media and what you learn, I think what you don't learn in school, a lot of times we're taught, everything you have to do to go work at a company. But as you said, the media business is changing.
Yes.
You talk about the word journalist. And let's remember, not only journalists are getting hired now, you have former players getting hired,
Yes.
and you have influencers getting hired.
Correct.
So it makes a smaller pool, right, for you to try to get hired into. For me, I started my podcast because I wasn't getting, as I told you, a seat at the table. No one wanted to give me a microphone to be in front of. So I decided to make my own microphone and start my own podcast and to be able to be authentically me, which is something I think you have the opportunity to do when you start your podcast. So for me, I think I love seeing it. I think Shannon Sharp has shown a good blueprint, and to get to his level requires a lot of hard work. I think, sometimes people start podcasts just to start it, but don't just start it to start it. Start it and do it well.
Yes.
Start it and do it well.
Correct.
And remember, it's about quality, not quantity.
Quantity.
Really think about the quality of your podcast. If you really want it to be something that's Spursy. For me, I've been blessed to have top guests. I'm actually bringing it back next week. So if you've been wondering, where's the podcast? I'm working on everything. And it's important. So I think for me, and also, as you said, job security, not just in sports, but in general. I live in DC. Government shuts down. We had COVID happen. People lost jobs. I think you always want multiple sources of income. So if you're able to also make your podcast monetary, I just did a panel about this at our convention for NABJ. Do it. And look at Shannon Sharp. Like you said, he was able to leave a job.
I'm sorry. I need to put my charger in. Keep talking.
Okay, yeah. He was able to leave a job, which I thought was great, but also be able to still make content through his podcast. I think Shannon Sharp has shown us all that great things can truly happen, right? When you're able to follow a blueprint, which essentially he did for his podcast. And think about how people listen to podcasts now, because we're not watching stuff live like we used to. People want to go back, listen to it, pause it. Podcast falls into that sphere. I was able to partner my podcast with the network and Fox Sports Radio, which also opened me up to obviously more listeners and more viewers, which I'm forever thankful for. So I think podcasting can just open new doors, and it's a way that you can keep doing what you love and doing what you do without having to rely directly on a network.
Yes, thank you, Cool J, for sharing her page. Please,
thank you. I love Cool J.
You can see she's very intelligent. She knows a lot of sports. You know what I'm saying? So guys, go subscribe to her, and she has a lot of great guests on her show.
Oh, so thank you. I got some exciting ones coming up. So yes, make sure you subscribe.
I'll subscribe to her too. So she said hustle and flow leads to real steps in direction of progress. Kudos to the podcast.
Oh, thank you for the kind words. It means so much to me, truly.
Yeah, I like women that are into sports. My wife don't watch sports like that on Sundays, but she knows that on Sundays is my day to watch.
She lets you be in your man cave.
I'll be in my man cave. She'll sit right next to me. Once I start screaming and yelling, she's like, "Okay, it's time for me to go in the bedroom."
But it's good y'all have the understanding, and obviously I love women in sports. but I also know sports aren't for everyone, right? So as much as I can, I try to put my love of sports into everyone, but that's not everybody, and not even just women. I know a lot of men, believe it or not, especially here in the area, that like, Kelsey, I'm not even really into sports, so it goes both ways, but for so many of us, I think sports is our love language. It makes us happy. It makes us mad because I can go back to many instances, of that too. But, but it also brings us together and gets to connect me to great folks like you.
Yeah. So with your freelancing and all the businesses, what is the future for Kelsey? Like
Ooh.
what brands are you? I mean, I don't want you to put your business out here, but what is
I'll put a little bit out. Like
okay, go ahead. I've been to your website. It's nice, pretty way.
Thank
you are a busy woman.
Updated though, so see, there's so much I've been doing. I'll give you one special project I'm so excited to be dropping soon. I'm releasing my first sports betting commercial for a locally owned sports book here in Washington, D.C. Nice. It's called Grand Central, so look out for that soon. It means so much for me because we go back to Black women. There's not enough of us in the sports betting space, so to be able to be in that space and again drop a commercial in my hometown, it means so much to me dearly. And their hashtag is Bet Local, and I'm a local girl that loves my local community. So be on the lookout for that. As I mentioned, I'll be teaching intro to news writing this semester at George Washington University. So hello to all my future students. We're gonna have fun in the 8 a.m. classes, y'all. I know it's early, but bring your coffee, bring your energy.
8 a.m.
8 a.m. 8 to 9:15. Yes, I did that to myself, but
I never made those days, man. Back in college.
Look, my class, they're going to be there. We're in person, so I'm super excited, for that. And I'll have some new projects. So stay on the lookout soon for football season that you guys should also be tuned into. And then before I know it, because as you know, NBA is right around the corner, that will also be dropping. Keep watching my content on MLBbro.com. I drop new content. Comes out every Thursday for our What's Poppin' segment. And then I have a whole bunch of speaking engagement and opportunities coming up. So also follow me to be on the lookout for that.
You are busy with the speaking engagements, nonstop action. So one last question. Are you a baseball fan? Do you follow the baseball?
So I started working for MLBbro.com. Are we talking about Tim Anderson? Are we talking about the punch?
No, we're not talking about that. I was going to talk about my Orioles. What do you think?
Oh my gosh. First of all, we needed this in Baltimore. I mean, you think about just a change in the season, right? I mean, Baltimore, and it's funny now because being in DC and what's happening to the Nationals, I'm like, well, Baltimore fans already know that. I think it's such a fun time to be an Orioles fan. Let's go O's. I absolutely
hopefully the Orioles are doing well and the Ravens are doing well. And
something happening in Baltimore. I'm a Maryland girl. I know we say crab cakes and football. That's what Maryland does, but we got to add baseball. So crab cakes, football, and baseball. That's what Maryland does.
So one last question again. What do you think of the sale of the what are they called again?
Commanders.
Commanders. Yeah. I wanted to ask you that question in the beginning, but I forgot. But what do you think of that sale?
It's a breath of fresh air.
Okay.
It's a breath. I mean, let's be honest. Like the Dan Snyder era was it's over now. It was turmoil. It was chaos. It was turmoil. It was allegations. It was embarrassing. It was malpractice happening within the organization at the top levels. And honestly, the Washington team, the Redskins, the Commanders, all the things they were under him, they became a laughing stock of the National Football League. So I think to me, it's I've never seen folks. I had just turned 31 years old. I have not seen folks that excited about this football team in my lifetime. So many of us millennials, we've had to hear about the great days, prior to us being born. But I think now finally a new page has turned, a new leaf has turned, and people really see that something, as KD's documentary said, that something's in the water here in DC and that it's a fresh new start that people have been wanting so long. I can't tell you how excited folks are about Urban Magic Johnson being able to be a minority owner of this team and, coming to game days.
Like 4%. Does he get to sit at the table at the NFL?
People have to really look at that. So minority ownership, but you know what, to be fair, I think Magic was more so brought on because of his power, right? Okay. So you look at the money that Josh Harris, right, and his main, the top investors were able to bring in. But let's be honest, who's everybody talking about? Magic Johnson. Who's going to do PR for the Commanders? Magic Johnson. So I think he's doing the exact job that they've needed him to do. And yes, I think Magic will have a seat at the table in terms of, I think they will go to him, I think, to get his opinion on a lot of things, because one, he's won at the highest level. Two, he's a Black man that's played sports at the top level. You look at the makeup of the Washington Commanders team. And then I think they're going to need Magic to, again, sell a lot of the new culture and stuff that they're going to try to sell to fans. So I actually think Magic is going to have a very prolific, high profile part of this ownership team.
So you think it's going to have a seat at the table with the Commanders and the NFL league itself? Because, the owners are very old,
It could be, but Magic, the great thing about Magic is that he's like universal in the sense that he's respected by everyone. And let's remember, the NFL is going through a tough time right now. You look at what happened with Jim Trotter, their diversity and the league executives. And we're looking at what's happening with Black head coaches and that number continuing to unfortunately dwindle. I think Magic, him being a thought partner, is going to be very important as they try to get it right. We're also in an era of social justice, and the NFL has not gotten the best remarks or views, when it comes to social justice and supporting its Black players. I know we're all laughing about the Montgomery, brawl, but this again goes to an era of social justice and what's happening, in the world, and having somebody that could actually speak to what that means, for so many. And so, and unfortunately, we still live in a world where, so many of us, have Black men in our lives or Black women that we look out for every night or every day that they go out, because we don't know if they'll go back home. So saying all that to say, I think Magic's going to be important to the NFL from a social standpoint. I think he's going to be important to your point, showing it's not just a good old boys league, and that, somebody different is able to come in, and then locally to really, again, get people to buy back into this Commanders brand and this Washington team.
Yeah. I see Magic rebranding the whole team. The colors, the name.
I don't think you should touch the colors, though, Kay. Burgundy and gold is religion.
Oh, they lead the colors, but the name.
The name is interesting. Like, I just saw there's a petition on change.org that almost has 70,000 signatures to change the name back to Washington Redskins. I'll be honest with you, it's not going to go back to that. The NFL is not going to go back to that, even though I know some people are going to say they didn't feel it was derogatory, because there are some that do. The NFL would not go back on that, right? It just is what it is. But, I know people just wanting, Commanders it's not a sexy name. It's not a hot name. Left hand up, the Commanders, that's cute and all, but people want something, I think, that really embraces the identity of our nation's capital, of Washington, D.C. And I don't think that the Commanders name has been all encompassing for fans.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna end this. Do you have any advice that you can give to young women looking to get into sports journalism or just sports in general? Anybody that come across this video. So I'll just let you take the floor.
Always advice. There's always things that you wish you knew. I think, for me, a couple things. One, your network is your net worth. Network. Find organizations that you can join. I just rejoined Association of Women in Sports Media. It was a group I was part of in college. I actually helped to bring the first chapter to the University of Maryland. So it's been great to get back with that org. For Society of Professional Journalists, I just got back from their Future Leaders Academy and got rebranded with that org, and I joined their inaugural sports committee. And again, I say this to say, like, I've been able to meet so many great people through networking in my professional organizations. It just talks about NABJ. I'm an NABJ baby. I've done NABJ for years now, and it's been so good to me. And locally, part of the Washington Association of Black Journalists. And I can't tell you how many good people I've met, how many opportunities I've gotten from networking with folks, in these organizations. Washington Women in PR, another group I'm part of. So definitely, as much as you can, join professional organizations. I think number two, don't be afraid to be authentically you. When I first got into this business, I didn't think I'd be accepted for being me. So I tried to sound like other people. And people were like, what are you doing? Like, that's not you. And I started getting jobs when I started to, again, just be myself. So no, there's nothing wrong. Like me, I'm high energy. If you can't tell by now, I like to have fun. I'm a smiler when I talk, but that's part of my brand, and that's me. And luckily, that's been able to be accepted. And the last thing is just bet on yourself, which means to believe in yourself and invest in yourself. So many people want to do this business, they tell me. Then I ask them, what are they doing to get in this business? And it kind of gets quiet, Kay. You got to be working on this every single day. Repetition. If you want to do a podcast, are you going to get the right materials to start a podcast? Are you branding yourself? Do you have a logo? Do you have a name? Where are you? Are you taking the right journalism classes? Are you staying after class asking your professors questions? Are you doing internships, in media? So I think it's what Are you branding yourself on social media?
Mhm.
So when I say bet on yourself, that definitely means that you have to invest within yourself to be
Yeah.
able to do the job that you want to do.
Wow. We have they are Commanders fans. They live in the Virginia area, but
Hey, left
that's their
hand
team.
up. Who are we? The Commanders.
They always tease me if the Redskins beat us in preseason. I'm like, whatever, man. But guys, thank you so much. I wish I can go on. There's still a lot of questions that I could think of to give to her, but she's such a busy woman. If you follow her on social media, she's here today, she's there tomorrow, you know. So she's always doing content, and we had to schedule. We scheduled what, almost 4 times, you know.
But we made it happen. 5th time's a charm.
And she reached out to me. I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot to email her back. I'm like, sure,
But
let's do
see,
it
I
tonight.
stayed on it. I did not forget you. I stayed on it.
Yes,
We're gonna make this
and you
happen.
know what? As busy as she is, as you know, as busy as she is, she still reminded me. I'm still small time. She's big time. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
she
we are
reached
just
out to
content
me and
creators.
said, hey, Kay, are we still doing this interview? And that made me feel, I'm like, you know what? I'm so happy that she reached back out to me because I forgot, you know. And so thank you for coming
Thank
to my
you.
channel for this great, wonderful
Thanks for
interview.
having me. This was
Yeah,
fun.
so thank you very much. And thank you all everybody else that's been here. Don't forget to subscribe to her channel. Let me post it again. That's her channel.
Thank you so
Subscribe to
much.
her,
So appreciate
support
it.
her, you know, and what I'll do is I'll cut some of the clips. So I want to send everybody to your channel to subscribe to you.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much. I so appreciate
So,
it. Thanks
yeah.
everyone for listening. So great meeting y'all.
All right, guys. Have a good one. Hold on, Kelsey. Don't sign off yet, okay?
All right. Bye,
All right.
guys.
Take care, guys. Have a good one. Peace.